Dr. Deborah Dupree, the Mindset Doc, transforms conflicts into learning opportunities, drawing from personal experiences to guide smart individuals through the complexities of emotional reactions. A dispute resolution master, international trainer, and recognized expert, Dr. D fosters courage and curiosity in families and organizations worldwide. Don't miss a chance to experience her powerful influence at every level. Here she is, Dr. D.
Dr. Deborah Dupree is the Mindset Doc. Transforms challenging confrontations into learning conversations.
It's a very interesting practice that involves being a business consultant, a business coach, and also a trainer.
Dr. Deborah Dupree with Triad Divorce Mediation. Dr. Deborah Dupree.
Dr. Deborah Dupree.
Thank you so much, Sam. I really appreciate it.
How many of you have been the youngest, the newest, or the least experienced on a team of people? Talking and communicating. They sound synonymous, right? Seek first to understand before you seek to be understood. To listen, you have to be silent, not just what's coming out of your mouth, but also what's going on in your head. And not everything that jumps in your head has to come out of your mouth. So how do we redirect those negative encounters and shift confrontations into conversations? Let's take a look at the 360-degree perspective. My fingertip represents some issue, some topic, some conflict that we might be experiencing. With my other hand, I'm going to draw a horizontal circle around my fingertip. So for every degree on my circle, it actually represents a different perspective of my fingertip. And how we see my fingertip could be a result of our experience, our age, our education, our family story. Compassion and concern. Let's go beyond talking and really start communicating.
Summer, I had the real pleasure to participate in SCMA's Employment Mediation Institute, where Dr. Dupree was the keynote speaker. For 75 minutes, she held the entire audience in the palm of her hand, and it wasn't at all a mystery.
Usually during presentations, there's a little bit of sidebar conversation going off somewhere in the room, a little bit of buzz, of whispers. There was none of that day. Deborah had everybody's attention riveted.
I want everyone to stand up real quick. I know some of you are at tables with more than a couple people, but turn to the person next to you, or away from you, whatever you're doing over here. And I want you just to say to each other, you're part of the best thing of my day so far. You are part of the best thing of
I love this song.
How'd that feel? Yay! The power of connection. Please take your seats.
Her strength is developing relationships, keeping relationships, nurturing relationships, especially professional relationships in my case.
She was entertaining, she was insightful, and she was incredibly gifted at communicating how we as mediators can deal with high emotionally charged negotiations. And the mediation becomes that magical situation where positivity is the rule of the day and a settlement is reached.
I have invited Deborah several times to come lecture in my master's program at California State University, Dominguez. And so Dr. Dupree, in her skillful way, brings both research, humor, as well as practicum on how to understand the best way to interact with one another, even when we're in difficult conversations or very stressful dynamics.
And we had her come in and do a workshop on emotional intelligence. And it brought me a lot of awareness and some new tools just to think and communicate differently, whether I was in a mediation or just in business communications in general. I walked away feeling like I definitely had some new insight in how to have some of these difficult and challenging conversations. My attendees left the workshop last year feeling armed and prepared with a new knowledge set that they didn't have before. How can they deal with conflict? How can they negotiate through conflict? How can they influence or hear differently than other people, speak differently than other people? Those are the skills that most people don't have, and Dr. Dupree will give them to you. So I highly recommend using Dr. Dupree for any conference, keynote, or workshop.
So if you are looking for an excellent, dynamic, as well as research-based lecturer, Dr. Dupree is the person to look for.
You won't go wrong.
If you have an opportunity to see Dr. Deborah Dupree, I would highly recommend it. You will not be disappointed.
Talking and communicating. They sound synonymous, right? But actually they're quite different. Talking is telling the verbal content of what you or I want to say. Communicating, though, goes far beyond that. It includes awareness of emotions. You recognize the impact you have on others, and you also have the ability to read the nonverbal cues. Did you know that 55% of how we communicate face-to-face is through our body language? 38% is how we sound, tone, volume, inflection. Says a lot about our attitude. And only 7% are the words. But the words are incredibly powerful, both negative and positive. It says a lot about where we're coming from. As Albert Mehrabian, body language researcher, says, it's a 7% rule. Choose your words wisely. As we think about these words and what's going on, we draw upon Stephen Covey's work. The biggest communication problem is that we don't listen to understand, we listen to reply. With those two words, listen and silent. What do you notice about those two words? They're exactly the same letters. So to listen, you have to be silent, not just what's coming out of your mouth, but also what's going on in your head. And not everything that jumps in your head has to come out of your mouth. We all have a choice in how we show up. I made a choice to have a different voice. Do you have a choice? Do you have a voice? Yes, you do. And how you use that voice, choosing to use that voice, makes all the difference in the world. You have opportunities. Seize them, embrace them, and live with them. So I suggest to you, let's embrace the 3 C's: courage, compassion, and concern. Let's go beyond talking and really start communicating.